keeper. Help me say that he is our keeper. Thank you so much. I felt that I needed to just talk with us because of what has transpired in our land the last few days. Because the nation as a whole is running scared. And fear has a way of damaging one's life. Fear turned black hair gray. Fear put ulcer in your stomach. Fear will turn a young man into an old one. Fear creates a restlessness underneath your skin. And life is too short for us to run scared when we have the reinforcement that we have. Sometimes we forget who we are and whose we are. When you know who you are and whose you are, you can say, I ain't scared because I've got somebody working in my behalf. We have watched gun violence now for several years. I should remind us that it didn't just start with shooting up cities and schools. Because those of you that live in this city where I live, we see it every day. And the tragedy is that many of the ones doing it favor us. We have blamed it on mental health. And I think we're missing from mental health to anger. We place it on anything but the real thing. Hatred and anger is chasing our streets like June bugs in the summer sun. So how do I handle situations, preacher, when my life is at stake? That I can't go nowhere now. I ride down the street, minding my own business, could get shot down before I get from point A to point B. Don't even have to leave home. People will kill you in your own house. How do I handle situations like this? You ask so many good questions. The writer says one thing we must do, and that is change our posture. He says, I lifted up my eyes. Our focus is too much on stuff around us instead of focusing on what is above us. Because when we look around our situations, it is very depressing. It's hard to live in this life now without being depressed over situations around us. Because things don't look good around us. You can have your cars and cash and clothes and commodities and creature comforts and Caribbean cruises and cottages in the country. But when you have to lock yourself in and then lock yourself up and lock others out, that's not a good way to live. And when you have to lock and lock the lock that's locked, and we worry all day if the lock is locked. Talk to me, somebody. That's not a good way for us to live, but I think that God can show us how we should conduct ourselves in the midst of a sinful generation. He said, your posture should be different. He said, I lifted up mine eyes unto the hills. A lot of things happen in the Bible in hills. There was a hill called Mount Ararat where the ark landed when the flood was over. There was a hill called Moriah where Abraham offered his son Isaac as a sacrifice. It was a hill called Sinai where Moses went to receive the written law. It was a hill called Pisgah where God showed him the promised land. It was a hill called Nemo where God buried Moses and turned around and buried his grave. It was a hill called Zion where David found out that God is a stronghold in the time of trouble. It was a hill called Olive where Jesus would retire and pray all night long. It was a hill called Hermon where Jesus was transfigured, his divinity outshined his humanity. It was a hill called Calvary where Jesus suffered and died for our sins. But not only was it a hill where geographical and historical things happen, the hills were also a place where crime was committed, because thieves and vagabonds would live and dwell in the hills. So if anyone would come anywhere around the hill country, more than likely they would get taken out. The tragedy happened in the hill. And so when the text said, I lifted up mine eyes, he was saying, I have some problems because a lot of my problems come from the hills. And of course, when we think of hills now, we think of the hill house called the White House. That a lot of our problems come from the place where I should be looking for help. But instead of getting help, I'm getting destroyed. And if we're not careful, if we focus on that hill, we'll stay depressed. But the psalmist said, you got to raise your eyes a little higher. He said, you got to lift up mine eyes to another hill, because I got some help up there that's above the hill you've been looking at. I lift up my eyes unto the hills, he said, from which cometh my help. The writer seemed to say you can't make it in this life without some help. Stop thinking that you can live in this life by yourself. Too many people try to live alone, but can I tell you, sooner or later, you're going to need some help. Act like you can make it by yourself if you want to. You'll be out on an island by yourself, but all of us need some kind of help. I hear people say, I'm self-made, I'm my own self. You lying, you didn't make yourself. Matter of fact, we're indebted to half the world before we leave home in the morning. If you get up and take a bath and use soap, you're indebted to the Frenchmen. They invented the soap. If you take a towel and dry off your body, you're indebted to the Turk. They invented the towel. If you eat hash browns, you're indebted to Idaho. If you eat cornflakes, you're indebted to Illinois. If you eat peanut butter and jelly, you're indebted to Georgia. If you drunk some orange juice, you're indebted to Florida. Have I got any help in this house? If you drink coffee or cocoa, you're indebted to Africa. I don't care where you go, you're indebted to somebody before you leave home. We need help, but the problem is we look for help in the wrong places. The places we've been looking for help, the Lord said, cancel that out because they might help you and they may not help you. Sometimes we look for too many wrong people to help us. You remember that episode in John chapter 5? There was a man that was at the pool for 38 years. And Jesus walked up and said, would you be made whole? And he started saying, I've been looking for a man to help me. And every time I thought I had a man in place to help me, he walked right by me. He said, no man helped me in the pool. I'm looking at somebody here this morning, you looking for some man to help you. But men love to disappoint you. Preach from me. They'll wait till they think you gotta have them, and they'll turn and show you another side. Don't look for man to help you. There is someone else that's able to help you, and he will do it. He said, lifted up mine eyes unto the hills from which cometh my help. My help come from Yahweh. Yahweh, Elohim, El Shaddai, Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Rapha, Jehovah Salon, Jehovah Sidkenu. That's where my help comes from. Do I have a witness? Is there anybody here know that your help comes from the Lord? You say, but I got a good job. I can make it on my own. Book of Deuteronomy 8:18 say, it is he that give thee power to get wealth. Maybe you got a PhD, but that's only 3 letters of the English alphabet. That means you got 23 more you don't know nothing about. God is the one that give you help. So number one, you got to look at the source of my help. Things we're focusing on too much is resources. My car, that's a resource. My house, that's resources. My little money, it's a resource. Clothing I wear, that's resources. But God is the source. So I don't need to bypass my source and spend a lot of time on resources, because resources got holes in it. Resources come and go. Resources, they fly away, but your source will always be there. And that's God himself. You and I both know that he was here when we got here. He will be here when we leave here. But your resources may be here today and gone tomorrow. He is our source. Shout source one time. My help comes from the Lord. He said, just in case, if you get me mixed up with some other God. He said, the one I'm talking about is the one that made heaven and earth. Now, if you had thought about other gods, when you got to this, you discover he's one and only. He made the heavens and the earth. Everything you have accomplished, everything you have came from one or other places. It came from the earth, or it came from heaven. Somebody evidently questioned God about his supply. This is what it said. I have 10,000 blessings in my right hand to satisfy the poor. And he never gets short of 10,000 blessings. He can bless you, and you, and still have 10,000 blessings. Because God has what you call an inexhaustible supply. In other words, he never runs short. He never runs out. You know, every now and then when they want to raise gas prices, they say getting short on gas. And folk will run to get gas. Ain't no short on gas, not when God supplies it. You walk in Kroger's and some of your places where you shop for grocery, 2 o'clock in the morning, when you walk in, they restocking the shelf because they ran out during the course of the day. But God never have to rush to do anything. God is still feeding billions of people, keeping produce, keeping vegetables, keeping enough chickens die for all of us to have fried chicken every day. He never runs short because God has what you call an inexhaustible supply. I may not get any higher than this. He is the scope of our help. Watch the text. He will not suffer your foot to be moved. In other words, it's so easy to mess up. Let me say again, it's so easy to mess up. And sometimes you fall out with a person because they did mess up, but you don't know how long they've been standing. We should have that. You don't know how many times the devil tried to take them out and they kept on standing. You know how many times they came so close. But when you're standing, you can't pat yourself on the back. So look at what I did. It's the Lord that kept your foot from slipping. Psalms 37, verse 23, he said, the steps of a good man, they're ordered by the Lord. You see, sometimes the reason it's so easy to mess up is because you don't know where you're going all the time. And God don't give us a roadmap from time to eternity. He gives us one step at a time. That's why every morning when you get up, you got to consult your Creator. Talk to him. Say, what you want me to do today? Who do you want me to bless today? Where you want me to go today? Don't ask for too much too soon because you won't be able to keep up with it. To have a witness. I ain't gonna bother y'all too long. He ordered my steps. Not only does he order my steps, he ordered my stumble. Because sometimes we start bragging about how holy I am. Oh, child, I ain't gonna do that. You ain't gonna never catch me doing that. Oh yeah, no. Look at it. Look at what they did. Look at what. Oh, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Ain't gonna never. No, be careful. how you try to expose another saint. Because God will take the cover off of you. So you've been bragging about how holy you are. God said, let me show the world how you really are. He order our steps. He order our stumbles. Because sometimes God has to allow us to fall into some stuff for us to realize we ain't strong as we think we are. That's why Jesus said to his disciples, I got to leave, but I'm going to send a comforter back that's going to help you in my absence. Help me say, he ordered my stumble. But then the Bible says, he that keepeth shall keep. He that keepeth in King James is 3 words, but in the Hebrew it's 1 word. Shama is the Hebrew word for keep. It means he guards. It is like you in prison with chains on, and then God standing on both sides to keep anybody from bothering you. He guards us. It ain't that easy to take out a Christian because God is guarding you. Oh. You thought that was you doing all that. No, it wasn't you. It was God that was. Shout God in you. He's guarding you. He's keeping you out of stuff, keeping you out of foolishness, keeping you out of mess. He is guarding me. The thing about it is, there's some stuff headed your way. You don't even know it's coming. Oh, that's some stuff, that's some folk that's trying to take you out now. And you thought they was your friend. They're just getting ready to set you up so they can take you out. Talked with a lady in the Bahamas. She'd been married 6 times. And all 6 of her husbands were dead. 5 of them she killed with soup. They ate her soup. The 6th one, she shot him because he wouldn't eat the soup. Y'all looking at me strange. Somebody is boiling some soup for you. And you don't even know who they are. But because God is guarding you, he keep you, Lord, from drinking stuff that's going to take you out. It's a he that keep it. How many know God is a keeper?